Hey, it's Nikachu, and today we are going to take a look at the latest evolution of the modern food deck, which has now become a complete abomination. Just ask yourself, what if we just took all the most oppressive, busted cards, wrapped it up into a package, slapped it into a deck box, and called it a day? And we would call that Is It Food, featuring none other than Modern's busted all-stars, Urza, Lord High Artificier, Ragavan, Nimble Pilfer, Emry, Lurker of the Lock, in addition to the food combo presented by asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar and the Underworld Cookbook, and finishing it all off with Urza's Saga. That's right, we now have all of Modern Horizon 1's and 2's most busted cards and all the other cards of Fire Design all wrapped up in one package. But before we go into the deck list, I'd love to let you all know the lore about asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar. Apparently my chat told me that this was the personal cook to Lord of the Pit. That's right, and this makes complete sense because Lord of the Pit loves the spicy food. What we are seeing right here is a live view of him taking a deuce. It's a spicy one. You see, Asmorano's food, it will deal 6 damage to you because it will burn like hell when it goes out. But Lord of the Pit has 7 toughness, can take the stand of that fiery shit. If the Lord went to the bathroom, everyone's gonna smell this like 6 houses down. So this list got a first place finish in the latest Modern Challenge. That's right, first place by Muck. Muck credits this list to MTG Vinci, who apparently loves these sort of food decks. And, you know, first we started off with the Hollow Vine. Then we went to the Cat Oven. You know what? Those are all very cute, interesting decks. But now what if we take the most busted cards that not only have been proven to be busted, we've seen Emry before, we've seen Urza before. I remember the last time they made this busted amalgamation of cards with like Urza, Emry, Astrolabe, Oko Thief of Crowns, Mox Opal. Yes, those 3 cards. Do we remember that? Nikachu doesn't forget. Modern doesn't forget. And all 3 of those cards ended up on the ban list. That's what happens when you bring all the busted cards together. And we might be seeing that again. History is repeating itself. All the super sweet, super powerful cards all being featured all at once. It's like how Jun tries to play with the most powerful individual cards in Modern and makes a deck out of it. Except in the case of the food deck, it works. If you've discarded a card, you know, like Street Wraith perhaps, you can cast Asmorano for only 1 mana, a black or a red. That can be done with Street Wraith or the Underworld Cookbook. Play this thing first. That's why we're running the full 4 here, people. That's why we're running the full 4. We got the 4, discard a card, create a food, cast our Asmorano, and then now if we can create 2 or more food, we sack 2 food, deal 6 damage to a particular creature. Now here's where the new synergy kicks in. This is more or less an artifact deck. Sometimes this deck can make tons of food, infinite food, a smorgasbord. We have a convention level of food thanks to Oval Chase Daredevil. This is the 4/2 that whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may return Oval Chase Daredevil from your graveyard to your hand. And believe me, you can make like 10, 20 food on the battlefield if you got enough Underworld Cookbooks. Turn after turn, discard the stupid Oval Chase Daredevil. You discard, you get the food token. Food token enters the battlefield. Oh, Oval Chase Daredevil says, there's an artifact. I'm going to return myself to my hand, and you end up with tons of food tokens. Well, how on earth are we going to use this? How do we make good use of this? Well, Urza loves all the food tokens. First off, you can just tap them for mana. They're artifacts. Urza says, tap an untapped artifact you control, add a blue. Then pay 5, shuffle your library, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. Now you have more things to do with your food than ever before. They work with Asmorano, and now they work with Urza. The food, everyone loves food. And remember, when Urza, Lord High Artificier, enters the battlefield, this is like the OG Urza Saga, because it's Urza himself. You create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So again, so now you got the full 4 Urza Saga. You got your Urza Saga here making those construct tokens that get big off of the food, and you've got Urza Lord High Artificer. They're both working with all the food that you are generating. We can even make the whole Underworld cookbook thing even more reliable with Emry, Lurker of the Loch. Emry enters the battlefield, you mill some cards off the top of your library, fantastic. If you found the Underworld cookbook, beautiful. Bring that from the graveyard back to the battlefield so you can get your whole game online. But not only that, we get to use the busted Mishra's Bauble. Yeah, if you do not deal with Emry, immediately now this deck is going to be drawing 2 cards a turn, which very few decks can deal with. Why do you think Lurrus is so busted? This is the Lurrus before Lurrus was printed. Emry was doing this all the time. The Emry players are like, who cares about Lurrus? We were doing this all along. This is nothing special. So Emry has access to that card draw engine, not to mention a lot of other tools that we have from the graveyard, things like Ether Spellbomb and Soul Guide Lanterns. Now these are all things you could find off of the Urza Saga, but if they end up in the graveyard, you can bring them back with Emry, Lurker of the Loch. Mind you, all this artifact nonsense synergizes very well with Thought Monitor. This card may not look like much, but believe me, a 1 blue 2/2 flyer that draws 2 cards, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm usually spending 2 mana for a 2/1 Silvergill Adept that draws 1 card a turn, and it's not even flying. This is a 2/2 flyer for 1 blue draws 2. That's absolutely busted. Not to mention, it still has synergy with the rest of the deck, so if you can find that off of Emry, I mean, that's just gas. You gotta think twice before you attack into your opponent, because they will block with the Thought Monitor. They'll just block, they don't care. They'll just put it straight into the graveyard because they know that they can reanimate it, bring it back from the graveyard, cast again, draw 2 more cards with Emry, Lurker of the Loch. And it's so convenient that you draw 2 cards, because now if you have multiple Underworld cookbooks in play, you can feed the cookbooks to get Asmorano's ability online, sacrifice the 2 foods, deal 6 damage. And you know what? I'd like to say I'm going to stop there, but we're not done yet. We've got more legendary creatures in this deck. This is a legendary creature. This is a legendary creature. This is a legendary creature. We're not done yet. We also got Ragavan. Nimble Pilferer. This is the card a lot of people are paying very close attention to, because Dreadhorde Arcanist got banned in Legacy because it snowballs out of control. Once it deals damage, just gets more brainstorms and ponders in Legacy and just gets completely out of control. Ragavan, very similar effect. When it deals damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You can cast that card. So first off, even if you don't use your opponent's spell, you are getting extra mana, so you can cast more things. And by the way, it's a treasure token, which means it's an artifact, which has synergy with the rest of the deck. And don't underestimate the fact that you could be drawing cards off your opponent's deck. Maybe not immediately, maybe you have to draw a few more treasure tokens, but this deck does have some good mana available. I mean, it does have Springleaf Drum, so maybe you can cast anything off the top of your opponent's deck, and that's extra card advantage. This deck hits at so many different angles. Now, we do have some removal. We got a Lightning Axe as an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card or pay 5 mana. Well, I mean, we don't mind discarding cards because it sometimes will trigger the Asmorano. We can cast the Asmorano for like 1 mana, so not too bad. Also got Metallic Rebuke. If you improvise, your artifacts can help cast the spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1. So, I mean, it's basically Convoke for the artifacts, counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. You better have the 3 up. You might get caught off guard by the Metallic Rebuke. So this archetype attack, this archetype protect, but most importantly, this archetype is a busted deck. But if you're very concerned about any of the pieces of this deck getting banned, a lot of eyes on Ragavan, we're waiting to see, and there's more and more of these food decks entering the metagame. They're getting more powerful week after week. People are sort of laughing at these food decks, but I don't know if they're laughing now. Now they're consistently making top 8s, winning tournaments. If you want to play the deck, but you're concerned about any of the cards getting banned, you can play this deck with Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. When you rent from Mana Traders, if a card gets banned, you don't get fucked. Mana Traders prides itself in getting fucked so you don't have to. It's their job, and you can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 2 months using my coupon code Nikachu. Well, that's my video for today. Is this the best food deck that there is in Modern, or have you seen a better one? Let me know in the comments section below. So smash like for fast food, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, or Lord of the Pit is going to take a deuce in your bathroom.